Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Uh, Chairman Beatty is in a meeting and is not able to join us this morning. And other than that, there'll be a few people online. So with that, welcome to the agenda meeting this morning. I'll take it away, Tom.
Morning, Vice Chair and Commission. Tom Stoltz with the Manager's Office, and Nicole will kick us off on good news for the county for next Wednesday.
Good morning. I'm having a special visitor come on Wednesday. I will have Deputy Brandon Stitt here from the Sheriff's Office. He's going to talk about the free gun locks that they are offering in partnership with Wesley and WPD. The Sheriff's Office has also recently launched a new program. It's called Citizen Connect, and it's an incident dashboard. He's going to share more information on it. And then I will do a quick reminder that the Register of Deeds has property fraud alert options, and we will talk through that. That's all I have.
Okay, any questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Nicole. In addition to minute approval, there's a one proclamation for the Week of the Young Child. We're going to end up with 5 new business items. There's 4 listed on the paper, and I think we're going to move one. I think we're going to move item I into new business at Commissioner request. The D, E, and F under new business are GO bonds approval. One is to pay, D is to pay for roads, E is to pay for bridges, and F is to pay for public buildings. I don't know if Lindsay wants to talk on that any longer or not, but she will be at the podium for all 3 of these items as we go through. And any questions on that?
I do just want to briefly say what this part of the process is. Remember, whenever we do bonds, typically there's a multi-step process. Step 1 is it getting approved in a capital improvement plan. So that's already happened. Step 2 is a project authorization, which is what these 3 agenda items are. And basically what it does is it, under state law, checks the boxes for what you need to do in order to say you're going to spend some money to do these 3 projects, then you're going to reimburse yourselves with a bond sale down the road. So this is step 2 in that process only. It's just saying that this is your intention. For the road portion, it's 1.5 million. For the bridge portion, it's 2.5 million. And then for item F on the facilities, this is going to be the 22 million for the juvenile services building. And then we've also got the salt storage building for Public Works East Yard and the sheriff kitchen. So all of those projects are now we're stating our intention down the road to sell bonds for this. So I just want to clarify that's where we are in this process. It will come back to you 2 more times, even after this.
Thanks for clarifying that, Lindsay.
So after, I'm sorry, was there any other questions for Lindsay? Okay. So after item F, we will insert what is currently listed as item I under consent. We'll make that the new G. And Scott is here, and I don't know if Commissioner Howell wants to talk either, but this was a vacation request to vacate part of a driveway access, and Scott's making his way to a microphone. We might want to just stop and talk about this and kind of the rationale for why we wouldn't move it to new business.
Scott.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, sir. So yes, with this one, it's a vacation. These typically get put on the consent agenda. In this case, this one's been a little bit unique in that the right-of-way is very, well, thank you. The right-of-way is very wide in this area and essentially has been developed as a roadway on the north side, a roadway, what's supposed to be a roadway on the south side, and in the middle is a large drainage way. And we'll look to Lynn to make sure that I'm describing this correctly. But the drainage way is used kind of as a park in this area. And so what's happened is that over time on the south side of this area, there are a number of lots that front on what would be that street on the south end. Only one of those lots has been developed with a house. The others are vacant. And so that homeowner has requested to vacate that southern right of way that would be developed as a road. As part of this process, neighbors have learned about this, and they've expressed some concerns that they would lose some access to be able to walk around kind of that drainage / park area. So that's part of the concerns that is the concerns that have come up, and that's an issue that's been deliberated. The MAPC overall recommended approval of the vacation of the full request, and so So we had a briefing with Commissioner Howell on this one just because of some of the controversy that's happened in terms of the dialogue and discussion.
And I know I made some suggestions for some potential clarifications in the agreement that would delineate, if you will, where people can actually go where they need to access that space versus what would be considered private property for the homeowners. And I should also say this was, on the mapping, it showed this as a road. But it was never really developed or maintained by a township or anybody for that matter. It's been treated like it's a private driveway all these years. There's one place where the driveway gets very close to the edge of the water. And so there's a question about how to provide access for people to walk around that waterway. Where is the line that divides the privacy of the landowner versus the public space? And I think that needs to be discussed probably tomorrow. And then there's also a question on the address and where the mail delivery would be for the homes that are down the end of that driveway. So.
Thanks, Scott. So you'll see that as new business. Item, what'll be the new H now is in the bid board, and there was a single item on there, IT hardware, software consulting services. If there was any questions on that, I don't have anybody from IT here today, but we'll be glad to answer questions if the commission has any. On consent, item H is a professional engineering services agreement for bridge replacement in District 1. On 53rd Street North between Hillside and Oliver. The design fee of that was projected at $100,000. And I think actually the work is going to get done in 2027, looking at land, but that is item H. Item I will be gone now, so that's going to be new business. What is it showing as item J is consideration of a grant application for a little over $1,700,000. This is grant funding for crisis stabilization planning processing for individuals with IDD and co-occurring mental illnesses, which is the kind of the topic what we were talking about, the START program. And I don't know if Tim wants to comment any further on that, but if there's questions, he would sure be glad to answer. K, I think you've already been briefed on. This is the consideration of the 2025 Kansas Sentencing Commission Senate Bill 123 provider agreement. Rusty can answer the questions on this too. And I think Steve is online. You want to talk about this?
I'm not sure if Steve briefed on this. This is a agreement that involves ComCare and community corrections to provide substance use disorder treatment to certain non-drug, non-violent offenders. And Steve, you have more you want to add on that?
No, I don't have anything more to add on this. I did not brief the commission on this item. I briefed them on a regional grant item from KDOC.
Yeah, that was my bad. I didn't look to see what K was, and I thought it was the grant, but this is an agreement that allows ComCare access to the dollars to provide treatment to certain clients under community corrections supervision. It's an ongoing, I think it's a renewal or a continuation.
Okay. Questions? Don't see any.
L, which is a consideration of the grant board for ComCare PAP funds. This is
20-year relationship with KDADS. The thing that's interesting about this is the time frame. This is the 23 through 24 grant because KDADS has been so far behind in awarding grants. ComCare has been able to use fund balance and resources to keep the program going. KDADS is now getting caught up with their contracting. So, but it is what we've been doing for 20 years, two full-time staff and 2 part-time staff doing homeless outreach.
And then that brings us to item M, which is a consideration of grant in the amount of over about $266,000 for intake and assessment. Now, this is what they've been briefed on. Okay, very good. So this provides a myriad of services and corrections for juveniles, which is in your backup material on page 100. If there's any questions on that. And then the rest of the new business or the consent business items are routine. There will be, I want to talk about legislative issues today, but there may or may not be a need for legislative issue discussion. I don't think there's going to be, knock on wood, I don't think there's going to be any issue on federal grants, or will you need some time, Lindsay?
I would like some time today, if that's okay,
Okay.
based on note. So Commissioner Meitzner had sent around a NACO brief either earlier this week or late last week, and it talked about federal grants. And they are now doing a weekly call just to kind of talk about the first 100 days of the presidential administration and what those priorities are. And one of the things that they mentioned yesterday that is likely to come up very soon, and it was the only issue of advocacy that they opined about, was tax exempt municipal bonds. Apparently, the administration is considering, as a part of their budget, eliminating the government's ability to issue those tax exempt bonds. And what they have said is that it would generate an additional 364 billion in new federal revenues for the government, but they are estimating that it would be an average $6,500 tax increase for every American household. So it is something that would certainly hurt us because that would require us to start paying a higher rate of interest on all of our bonds. So that gets passed around to our local taxpayers, and that will be every jurisdiction. Now, every time City of Wichita, City of Derby, school district, anyone use bonds, with that ability being taken away, it will absolutely, without a doubt, result in higher costs, even if you're a AAA rated entity like we are. So that is the one thing that they said, doing some immediate reach out to our congressional delegation, or maybe even for us, Mr. Davenport at Thorn Run Partners. If there was any interest from the commission in doing that, I think that is one issue that would be considering worth advocating for, because that will have long lasting repercussions, especially when you think about a 20-year bond period. That's 20 years that our citizens would be paying more in taxes to every jurisdiction for any bond funded project.
Beyond new munis, not.
Correct. It wouldn't be any retroactive action that I don't think they legally, well, I say they couldn't legally, but I don't know. It historically, no, it's not something that could be retroactively applied. It would just be any new issues.
Did they comment on is the market, the impact to the market that says, will they actually be able to sell munis like again? I mean, the tax exempt part of munis is why people buy them.
You're right. I mean, I think there's a lot of risk associated with it.
Would you clarify again the reason for changing that? Why would they do that?
What they are saying is now you would have to pay federal income taxes on any interest you got off of our bonds now. And that would generate $364 billion to the federal government in terms of new revenue. And the reason they're looking to do that is because they want to continue the tax cuts that are otherwise set to expire at the end of this year. And so they need to find a way to fund it. And this would be one of the ways that they would look to fund that.
Pushing it back on local and state. Yep.
Correct. But then obviously onto our citizens who that's almost everyone pays it either through revenue source or through property tax.
And NACO is a group. NACO stands for
National Association.
National Association Counties. So they're going to be active in that, I assume, with other stuff. So
And
first, I think we can let NACO run with that. I think. But feeling.
Yeah, I agree. That's the correct benefit of doing it.
Well, we'll reach out to Mr. Davenport just to bounce it off him, but okay, if that's the direction from the commission, okay. We met this morning as a grant management group on a Zoom call at 9. There was nothing new that came up as far as individual grants for the county. That team is up and running. It'll meet every Friday. We do have a large leadership meeting this afternoon scheduled over at the Reagan building, where we'll talk to all the department heads and bring them up to speed on what the commission decided on Wednesday on how we're going to manage this situation. So we'll have that communicated organizationally. And then legislatively, Tanya?
Morning, Commissioners. So we just received just minutes ago an email from KAC with a legislative alert on House Bill 2125 and Senate Bill 82. So I'll be honest with you, I haven't had time to digest this. So I'm gonna kind of have to read off this email, just take the first two copies there. And they're asking for county officials to weigh in on this. And I'm just going to kind of read this off if you don't mind. So what they're saying is new House Bill 2125 CCR includes reauthorization for the 20 mil property tax for schools. This legislation is necessary to avoid a special session on school funding. In addition, the House Bill 2025 includes the following, and then it lists 5 items. It states that the language would allow the waiver of filing fees at BODA if there is already a pending case on that portion of real estate. Changes to the revenue neutral letter implemented for this year, 2025. KAC supports the changes in the original bill. Legislature will continue to reimburse counties for the revenue neutral rate letter in calendars years 2025 and 2026. Budgets are due to county clerk by October 1st. If not submitted, clerks can use the prior year's budget figure for tax purposes. And the last item is property tax notices will now be required to be mailed by December 1st rather than December 15th. So KAC states that they support House Bill 2125. And then it states Senate Bill 82 is now an entirely new package, a new package, including the following items. And it lists off, I think, 6 items. States the Astra plan, but not to be eligible for the full Astra amount, counties must remain revenue neutral. States if you exceed revenue neutral rate by 2%, your county receives 75% of the Astra distribution. If you exceed revenue neutral rate by 4%, your county receives 50% of the Astra distribution. If you exceed the Astra threshold, you will not receive any Astra funds. If you vote to exceed the Astra threshold, the vote fails. If you still will not receive any Astra funds. You must have 80% majority to exceed Astra. And then these changes will all take place in 2025, meaning they will be applicable this year when budgets are being considered. States that KAC does not support these sweeping changes to Senate Bill 82 and the current budget format. So I just wanted to provide you with this information. It's really fast. Like I said, we just received that minutes ago, and I did forward, Justin did forward this to Jason and Jessica, and I asked them for their input as well. So again, just wanted to make you aware that we did receive this property tax bills.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you mind clarifying what language that would allow the waiver of filing fees at BODA if there's already a pending case on the portion of real estate? And is that saying that you've already filed an appeal? I guess I'm just trying to understand what step that is.
I see Tom Henry.
So I'll let him
clarify.
Yeah, so essentially what this does, and we have a number of cases that are like this, if you have real estate that you appealed in 2024 and you appeal it again in 2025 and that 2024 case is still active, you would not have to pay the filing fees that are associated with that when you appeal it to Board of Tax Appeals.
You pay it once, you just don't have.
You would pay it in 2024, you would not pay it in 2025.
For the same property?
Yeah.
That's not just when it's delayed, right?
So I believe it's just when there is a case still pending at BODA.
Oh,
So if
basically
the 24 case gets taken care of in 24 and then you appeal 25, you would then have to pay.
like I've got cases from 23 and 24 that still aren't heard. So that just means basically I don't have to pay another filing fee since they're backed
Yeah.
up. That's nice. Thanks.
No questions? Tanya, for this late breaking news.
Well, we had
No fire agenda.
no fire agenda. There is an executive
We
session.
may have an executive session. So, okay, anything else? We'll see. All right. Have a good weekend.